Alright. 24, Season 7, Episode 6 was last night, so if you haven't seen it yet or you're not interested, get on out. Where do we start? Last night, picked up right after, of course, Renee Walker was buried alive under a plastic sheet, and we got the silent clock. Again, as I said last week, we got the silent clock, which makes us think, maybe she is dead, maybe she will die, maybe that's... You know, it was a pretty good use of the silent clock simply because it made you think. If it wasn't for the silent clock, I would not have entertained that thought in my head. But thanks to the silent clock, I did. So, Bill and Chloe drive up in their van a couple minutes after Jack and Emerson and his crew leaves, uncover her, and manage to revive her by giving her a shot of adrenaline, like in that scene in Pulp Fiction with Travolta and Thurman after she ODs on heroin or whatever it was. And she ends up being okay. You know, she's got a gunshot wound in her neck. And, of course, obviously, she stopped breathing for a little while, but she's doing alright. And they kind of bring her into the fold. They pretty much take her out of the FBI and say, you know, you can't trust these people. And, you know, so far so good. So far so good. Meanwhile, back at the FBI, everyone's pretty much assuming she's dead, and they're trying to focus on getting her back while getting Matobo back and getting the CIP device back, so there's a lot of stress on everybody. You can see Agent Larry Moss just start to lose it because we've already been shown that he has feelings beyond business relationships for Renee, which again I think could potentially be interesting because something similar could happen between Renee and Jack before all this ends. And meanwhile you have the president, who pretty much everybody in the White House is moving against her. She's sticking firm with the invasion of Sangala to assist Matobo and his, you know, troops, I guess you would say. Everyone else is saying we need to pull out. It's a little two-dimensional, even one-dimensional in how straightforward things are. You know, she's steadfastly sticking to this. Everyone else is going the other way. Nobody's, doing anything invasive or bad about it, but still. It's a good conflict because there's no right answer here. If you do this, Americans die. If you do this, Sangala gets... overthrown and a million innocents die. There's no right answer, so it's a good conflict. It's a little two-dimensional, but it's cool. And, the deadline has already passed, so Colonel Dubaku uses his CIP device to make two airplanes crash in midair by redirecting their routes, which, you'd think that'd be a little harder to do, to find two airplanes and to tell them both to redirect their route at the exact perfect speed, at the exact time. You would think it would take a lot of attempts to make two airplanes to crash together to get it to finally happen. If you've ever seen the movie Die Hard 2, something similar is happening, but the terrorists just have the airplanes crash into the ground opposed to crashing into each other. That's a little more realistic. That could totally happen. This, I don't know, but it's really not that big a deal. So, two airplanes crash together, a little under 300 people die, probably more actually, because of the ground casualties caused by falling debris. And, things are obviously getting a little hotter and heavier, but it's the same thing. I mean, the president's sticking to her guns, everyone else is trying to move in the other direction, and there's starting to be some talking going on between some of the higher ups saying we gotta convince her otherwise. So I guess we are going places there. I don't know, we'll see where this goes. Hopefully some other aspect reveals itself before all this is said and done. Meanwhile, I actually haven't talked about Jack and Tony and what he's doing yet, but they're, about to make the transfer. Apparently, I guess they're going to get paid in diamonds in exchange for the Prime Minister, Matobo, and his wife. So they get to the location where they're going to make the drop, and there's an odd moment where Emerson randomly decides that he thinks Tony's going to betray them, and it's kind of weird. I don't know, I felt it was a little forced. I felt it was kind of like a plot device, like the plot requires me to do this now, so I'm going to do this now. He pulls a gun on Jack and suddenly starts accusing Tony of secretly plotting to take all the diamonds for himself, because I guess that's the payment. And as it turns out, Tony kills Emerson's other dude, and then shoots Emerson, and they all die. And Jack and Tony are the only ones left there at the exchange point. So they start to hatch their plan. They meet with Matobo and his wife, get him on their side. It's pretty good. I think it all works pretty well for the most part. I feel like not a lot of stuff happened in this episode. That's one thing. I was like looking up at the clock, and we were at the 40-minute mark, and I felt like not a lot of stuff had happened. That kind of was a little disappointing to me, but I don't think it was a bad episode or anything. I just kind of wish more had happened. So they decide to stage an exchange of the diamonds and Matobo and his wife, and they're going to follow them to wherever they're going to take them, which will hopefully lead them to Colonel Dubaku and the CIP device and allow them to clean up. So they get Matobo and his wife on their side, and they pretty much hatch their plan. The terrorists arrive, and they've decided to tie up the loose end of the Tony and Jack and Emerson and all that, kill all of them, so A, they can keep the diamonds, and B, so they can clean up their tracks. So they get there, they get the Prime Minister and his wife, and the plan is to have Tony killed, because Tony claims to them that he killed Jack and Emerson's men because he wanted all the diamonds for himself. Of course, that's not true. Jack is still alive. And, Jack makes sure that doesn't happen. But this was kind of a weird moment to me. Basically, the terrorists try and kill Tony because they think he's the only guy left of that group. And they're trying to clean up. And Jack ends up killing... Jack is actually positioned in the rooftops. And he has a sniper rifle and he shoots a bunch of the guys. And once all the smoke clears... and Tony and Jack are still standing, and a bunch of the terrorist guys are dead, and there are only a couple of them left alive. And Tony just says, okay, it's cool, go on, get out of here, take your guys, we'll keep the diamonds, get on out of here. Let's forget this ever happened. And, I know why they had to do that. They couldn't kill everybody because that would blow everything, but it seems weird to me that the terrorists would just be okay with that, like they wouldn't be suspicious. Whatever, but I thought that whole thing was a little weird. It's like all of a sudden Tony goes, well, let's put this behind us. You got what you wanted. Get out of here. And they buy into that. I don't know if I was them. I don't know if I would buy into that. We actually, after like 45 minutes into the episode, we go to Henry Taylor, who's about to be killed by his Secret Service bodyguard. They lure Samantha to the apartment where Henry and the Secret Service bodyguard are. The bodyguard stabs Samantha to death and then plans to hang Henry with a electric wire from the second floor of the apartment. But Henry regains control of his motor functions, strangles the Secret Service agent, and basically throws him off the balcony, leading to his apparent death. I don't know if I totally believe that he's dead quite yet. I need to see definitive proof before I believe that he's dead. But it looks like he's dead. So Henry lives, and that's pretty cool. That's another loose end, another interesting plot point that can definitely come up that is probably going to be pretty useful and interesting down the road. And then the episode ends with Dubaku, who has received no response to his attack on the, two airplanes crashing into each other. So he decides to take it up to the next level and begins to plan a chemical plant accident using the CIP device. I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but the chemical plant is in a city of 30,000, and he estimates slightly less than 20,000 will die if he does whatever it is he's going to do. So he kicks that plan into action, and we see from the scenes in the next episode that things are going to get worse. Pretty good episode. I wanted a little more though, but it's cool. And those are my thoughts.